Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert, and I co-host the Kanye West podcast, Watching the Throne. And this is our YouTube channel where we talk about Kanye news and tidbits and have some discussions. Today, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a recap about what's been going on the last couple weeks, for me and our Kanye content. And then a couple news stories that we'll get to. First, and this is kind of cool, I don't know if some of you know this, but we were recently out, Travis and I, in Los Angeles, and that's because we got to interview Mike Dean. You can see Dean standing next to me there, and then below Dean is Mike Dean. I still don't know what to call him. Below Mike Dean is Apex Martin, who is a producer from Houston, who has worked on some Travis Scott music. Got to have a production credit on Yikes. He signed to Mike's MWA label. And then you got Travis looking all beautiful and smiling down there. So we're out in LA to interview Mike Dean for Forbes and the podcast. The Forbes article is going to come out sometime soon. I'll definitely let you know when it's available. The podcast episode, there's some issues with right now, but hopefully it gets to come out because I would love for you all to hear it. If not, some of the content's going to be in the Forbes article, so you'll at least get to read about it. And if you have some questions about the experience, we can answer them. But that was really cool, just being out in LA, getting to meet Mike Dean in person. Dude's awesome. And just hearing his thoughts on music and getting to hear some of the stuff that he's working on. Let me tell you, that man he lives up to the hype. Like, he absolutely lives up to the hype. So one of the big stories as we get into the news is that Taylor recently did, and I'm not showing the Rolling Stone article because I tried to do this video a few minutes ago, and the Rolling Stone article kept loading so many ads that I couldn't actually scroll down to the point where Taylor talked about Kanye. And then when I was in the middle of showing something, the page just reloaded. But I'm going to be referring to my own article, as you can see my face on the left side of the screen there. So Taylor did a interview with Rolling Stone, and it's the first interview she's really done in over 2 years. It has been about her career and her life. The events of 2016 and the fallout with Kanye and Kim really did send her into kind of a recovery period, or a distance from the public sphere, and now she's getting back into it. And her initial comments about Kanye, she talks about him kind of at length, and it's the most she's really addressed the relationship to this point, despite her complaining about it at other points in time and bringing it up on the album and kind of sniping Kim and Kanye multiple times. We really get like a full answer from her about why the lines from Famous made her so mad, which has always kind of been weird because with the phone call, we knew that she had approved I Made Her Famous and that she had approved me and Taylor might still have sex. Understanding the irony of the line, understanding the line in context of not just the song, but where the song was in the story of the album and what it meant, how it was part of the Pablo character's perspective and not necessarily Kanye saying, I think me and Taylor might still have sex, right? So she understood that. Why was the word bitch, especially in hip-hop, when hip-hop, as Kanye said, defending the line is an endearing term a lot of the time? Like Jay-Z and Kanye had released a song, That's My Bitch, about Beyonce, and not Kim at that point, because Kanye wasn't with Kim at that point, but Jay was definitely with Beyonce, and you don't see Beyonce complaining about it. Though maybe she was upset about it. I don't know. I should call Beyonce and ask her. But it just seems like if you're okay with the other lyrics, that bitch being the tipping point was strange. So Taylor finally explains why it was, and she says, I started to feel like we reconnected. No, where is it? Oh, okay. Some events took place to cause me to be pissed off when Kanye called me a bitch. That was not just a singular event. There we go. Basically, I got really sick of the dynamic between he and I. It was kind of a chain reaction of things. And she goes on to describe what happened. And her side of events is that essentially her and Kanye became friends again in 2015. They were having dinner, he was saying nice things about her music, and it was really meaningful to her because what happened at the 2009 VMAs when he interrupted her really hurt. And to be able to win his respect over time was something that made her feel like she was healing. That even though she had aged 6 years, there was still a 19-year-old version of herself that was seeking Kanye's approval. So to finally be getting that approval was like a good feeling. And then Kanye at one point called her up and said that I'm going to be getting this award. I would love if you would be the one that presented it to me. And Taylor says that they spoke for maybe an hour and talked about it, and that he was really sweet and he was saying all the ways that it was important to him, and she agreed to do it. So then you have the night of the event, and this is where things really went wrong. And when Taylor talks about the chain reaction of things, it's really only this moment that she details. Maybe there's some other things in there, but essentially Taylor gives a very open and gushing speech about Kanye, where she just openly acknowledges how much she admires him, that she and he have kind of moved past what happened in 2009. And it's just very vulnerable in the way that we associate with Taylor Swift, where she just says exactly how she's feeling. Kanye gets up on stage, they hug, he thanks her, and he starts to describe, Forbes does it too, he starts to describe 2009 from his perspective. And he asks the question, I think back to the first day I met you also. I think back when I'm in the grocery store with my daughter and I have a really great conversation about fresh juice. And at the end of it, they say, oh, you're not that bad after all. It crosses my mind a little bit when I go to a baseball game and 60,000 people boo me. And I think if I had to do it all again, what would I have done? And as Kanye talks about this, he acknowledges the pain that 2009 has caused him. He acknowledges at one point the pain that 2009 had to have caused Taylor, but he's working through metaphor, and he's kind of jumping idea to idea the way that Kanye does. There's definitely regret in his tone of voice, and there's definitely a sense of sorrow when he's reflecting on it and talking about it. But he never actually says, I'm sorry. And I think that was maybe a big thing for Taylor. She was waiting to hear the specific words on that stage, but because he never really made it that clear, right? There was something in the connotation of what he was saying that was, I'm sorry. But there was never those specific words. And he eventually reaches a point where he starts talking about award shows and almost justifying what he did in 2009, which I'm sure from Taylor's perspective, she's just like, wait, is he apologizing or is he saying he would do it again? Because despite asking multiple times, would I do it again? He never says, no, I wouldn't. And he reaches this point where he says, you know how many times MTV ran that footage referring to the 2009 incident? Because it got them more ratings. You know how many times they announced Taylor was going to give me the award because it got them more ratings. That's Kanye critiquing MTV and just saying, yeah, this thing happened. Taylor's going to give me the award and it's meaningful, but MTV's exploiting it. They're trying to use this moment that's supposed to be nice and turning it into something that's going to get them ratings. It has nothing to do with Kanye and Taylor, but how Taylor describes the moment in the interview is MTV got Taylor Swift up here to present me this award for ratings. Like, it's two very different sentiments, right? Because in this one, it's Kanye saying that MTV got Taylor to come up here and do this, which she knew that he was the one that called her. So to her perspective there, it's like, oh, he's the one that called me. He's the one that asked, and now he's not acknowledging that. He's saying that MTV did it, and he's trying to be all cool. Like, fuck that guy. You could imagine if he said that, why it would piss Taylor off. I think it would upset any of us. Like, if we heard that he said that after he called Taylor and was the one that asked her and spent like an hour telling her how meaningful it was, yeah, would say she has a point. The issue is that that's not what he said. He was just complaining about how MTV was handling the moment and how they were almost dehumanizing it by just exploiting it for ratings again and again and again. It had nothing to do with Taylor. But because she had this history with Kanye where she was just ready for him to somehow make her the butt of the joke like he did in 2009, she takes it negatively. And she refuses to talk to him the rest of the night. She's upset with him for a few days. She kind of cools off. And then by the time that he calls her about Famous, she's actually feeling positive towards Kanye again. She still acknowledges that it was really sweet of him to call her, and that she was on board with everything. Doesn't deny anything like that. But that when the word bitch came, again, no, when the word bitch came, not again, that it was, again, this moment where she thought Kanye was being two-faced, where he was being sweet behind the scenes and then being this cool guy when he talked about them to the rest of the world, which is what pissed her off to no end. And that's really sad to me because I think from an outside perspective, just looking at what he did, it wasn't aimed at Taylor. But because Taylor had that experience with him hurting her once before, which again wasn't aimed at Taylor, right? He took the mic from her. It was disrespectful, but it wasn't necessarily him saying, Taylor, you suck, you're awful, blah, blah, blah. It was just Beyonce's video was one of the greatest videos of all time. But she's just primed to take it in a negative way. So this article is me encapsulating that and using Malcolm Gladwell's recent insights in his book Talking to Strangers about the idea that people default to truth. And so Taylor defaulted to her truth about Kanye, which is that he's two-faced and duplicitous, when if she had a different truth about Kanye, she might have been able to move past the bitch line and may not have even taken the Vanguard Awards as insulting to her. And we'd be living in a world where Kanye and Taylor Swift are friends and maybe even collaborated, which I think would be a far better world than them being enemies, you know? So that's a really long video on that. And then this is cool. Zach O'Malley Greenberg's actually who brought me onto Forbes. So always love when Zach drops one of these articles. They're great to read. He spends so much time on this stuff. But it's the highest paid hip hop acts of 2019. And Kanye is number one. It's the first time he's ever topped the list. He's at 150 million, nearly double what Jay-Z's at in this year. And most of that has to do with Yeezy. Yeezy's expected to top 1.5 billion in sales this year. And because Kanye is the main owner of Yeezy, he's primed to make most of that money, right? So, yeah, he's doing pretty good. And I like that Zach kind of frames it as Big Brother because number 2 on the list is Jay-Z. So this is the first time that Kanye's ever topped Jay-Z on this list. So, yeah. Milestones for Kanye. Though I don't know if that's going to help the... I'm sure Jay's happy for Kanye, but in terms of like them two getting back together, I don't know. Is this one of those things where they're just like, motherfucker, like you're topping me now? And then this is kind of cool. Brad Pitt was recently at Sunday service and seen talking with Kanye. So People has this article, Brad Pitt reveals how he became friends with Kanye West, which for somebody like myself who Fight Club is my favorite movie, my number one, it's cool to see my number one favorite artist and my number one favorite movie actor in my favorite movie, be friends and hanging out. So we kept just running into each other through the years. I like that there's a Kanye out in the world, like messing things up, you know, which is pretty funny. Just Kanye as a disruptor. That's actually the thing that it was actually the 2009 VMAs that made me like Kanye as a person. Like I felt bad for Taylor, But I love the fact that somebody finally got on stage and called out the bullshit of award shows. Award shows are so infuriating, every single one. I feel like almost every winner every year is bullshit. At least some winner every year is bullshit. And it was nice that somebody finally got up and was just like, this is absurd. This is absurd. So that disruption, I don't know, I gravitated towards. So Pitt continued, envisioning the future, and we can't forget his music. He's one of the first to come out and be raw and open. He should always get credit for that. I'm guessing not just 808s and Heartbreak, but just College Dropout and Late Registration were very different in the hip hop landscape in that 2000 to 2010 period. I mean, 2000, 2005 period. Jesus. He said Sunday service is really beautiful. I think what he's doing is pretty special. It's a real celebratory thing of people, and it's a really loving vibe, and it's beautiful. It's huge, so beautiful. Likes the word beautiful. I find it really special. So, yeah. There we go. That's it. That's all I got. If you have any requests for video content, anything that's been going on, ask away. We're still releasing our advent calendars. The videos are going to be a little bit behind if you've been enjoying those, as Travis is currently in Barcelona, so they're not going to be getting uploaded. But Jesus is King, when it comes out, we're going to be back to our weekly song analyses episodes on the podcast, and we'll definitely be putting up some YouTube videos about it. So looking forward to having Jesus is King discussions with you all, and yeah, hope you're having a great week. Stay wavy, keep it loopy, and we will talk soon.